Welcome. How's everybody doing? Some interesting things going on as per usual across the markets. Yeah, I mean, just a recap or like the summary of the day. Crypto went to the moon today. Stocks. If you watched last night's stream, exactly what I talked about last night happened, and I'm gonna go over that. But what happened today was exactly what I'm not gonna say predicted, but what I was anticipating that was a high probability. That's really how I'm gonna put it. So we're gonna go over all of that before we get into stocks. Let's just talk about Bitcoin. Again, like before I even really get into a bunch of different things. If you watched last night's stream, you got the heads up on Bitcoin, on a few different altcoins that I talked about. You got the heads up on the actual market and what I thought could have happened. That pretty much exactly happened. So if you watched last night's stream, you were prepared. I'm going to try and, do my best to share my opinions again. But yeah, Bitcoin, big move, not a surprise. We talked about this last night, where you had that hidden bullish divergence on the 4-hour, which is now confirmed. And you had this mini harmonic pattern after the larger harmonic pattern. Just harmonic inception. Shout out to Mitch Ray for teaching me all this, and also he shares it on his streams. Go check him out. But great stuff for Bitcoin, for Ethereum Classic. Dogecoin had a nice day in the morning. Just a lot of altcoins crushed it. If you watched like the first 15 minutes of last night's stream, I talked about two different cryptos right off the rip. I talked about XTZ or Tezos. That's up about 20% since yesterday. And I also talked about ZEC, Zcash, which is up about like 15%. Since the stream yesterday. We talked about this inverse head and shoulders with the hidden bullish divergence. Well, look what happened. It broke out and it went crazy. So even Tezos, just a very nice move off of that support bounce. And just a lot of altcoins had a very good day. It's kind of tough looking at a lot of these altcoins at this point because I owned most of these coins at much lower levels, and it's just like, wow, I should have just hodled or hodled, whatever you want to say. I mean, just like Tezos, I own this like at $1. This is like $6. I mean, I could do the same thing for pretty much every altcoin. I mean, just looking for another one. UMA, I own this at like $8, I'm pretty sure. Link, this is the one that hurts me the most. Chainlink, I own this. Well, actually, there's two of them that hurt me the most. Chainlink, I owned at like $5, or no, I owned it at like $3. I sold it at like $5. It pretty much went to $50 a few months later. Not a few months later, like half a year later. And then the other one, which is kind of, it's just frustrating, but at the same time, I was only trading them. I wasn't investing in them. So a lot of the times as a trader, you're going to come back to certain stocks and you're going to look at them and you're like, oh my gosh, what if I just held? That wasn't your plan going into things, right? When you're trading, you're just playing, as Mitch Ray says, you're playing a chapter in the book. You're not playing the whole book. So you don't care what happens before and after. You care what happens during that chapter of the book. That's all you're reading, to take that analogy from Mitch Ray. But if we look at Ethereum Classic, that's another one. I had this at about $6 last summer. It went to 150. So, wow. Just a lot of life-changing opportunities across the market in crypto, as well as Dogecoin. If you remember that alert down at 2 cents, it went to 70 cents pretty much. Insanity for crypto. We'll come back to it later if we need to. In terms of Bitcoin going into tomorrow, you're kind of rejecting or pulling back at this 57.5k area again, which is pretty real. I mean, just this really between like 57.5 to 58.5 is a pretty big resistance zone that you've kind of seen on Bitcoin in the last, really ever since February, which is like the first time you topped out there. So maybe it's starting to create a little bit of a range, like between 52 and 58k. I think that's kind of what's going on with that harmonic in the middle. So we'll see what happens. Hidden bullish divergence. If you go on the 1 hour, probably will look like a bull flag. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. Let's talk about the market. Fisker tweet. They just tweet. Let me take a look. Henrik Fisker tweeted yes. And let me read it to everybody. No chip shortage at Fisker. He said that before, like a few weeks ago. I don't think we will be affected by the chip issue. We develop most of our software in-house, and our CTO comes from the chip industry and modern or equals modern EE architecture using multi-domain controllers. Launch Q4 next year. I'm not too sure what half of those words mean, I'm going to be completely honest, but he's said this before. Henrik Fisker's talked about how the chip shortage is not affecting them. They're not producing cars. I mean, they haven't really entered production, you know, real production yet. So it wouldn't make sense for chip shortages to, you know, affect them. I just think that the big story in the last few months has just been there's no speculation money. What's the name of the book? I think it's Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits. If anybody's read that book, they talk about, and also The Intelligent Investor, I believe. Both of those books talk about like speculation stocks, and those books are quite old, not super old, but they talk about speculation stocks and how there's going to be periods where people like speculation, such as pretty much like November to January, like last year November to this January, and then there's going to be periods where speculation just dumps, and that's what's happened in the last few months where SPACs have dumped, EVs have dumped, pot stocks have dumped. We all know about this by now. It's just people don't want to put money in speculation right now, or for the last few months people have not wanted to put money in speculation really ever since the end of February is when things started turning around for a lot of those speculation stocks, which I know many people were in those stocks back in, you know, November 2020 to January because they were performing so well. I mean, there was literally like life-changing money in a lot of those stocks every single week. It was crazy. I'm sure most of us remember it and miss the good old times, but you always have to adapt to what's going on. So that's kind of the scenario. If you watched last night's stream, I talked about a very specific movement going into today on the S&P. What I pretty much said was I think that this would either happen today or on Thursday. Well, it happened today. So if you go back and watch the beginning of last night's stream where I talked about it, I pretty much drew something like this. I took out like this little arrow tool. Where is it? Great. All right, this. So you close, let's just go on the daily. You close like right over here. So what I pretty much said was this. All right, so let's go back to the 4 hour. Hopefully that moved. Yeah. What I pretty much shared last night was you closed, you closed right over here. So where this arrow starts is where the market closed yesterday. And what I said last night on stream was, I think you're going to get a little bit of a bounce within either Wednesday or Thursday. You got it on Wednesday. And I said you're probably going to go up to fill that gap and you're probably going to see some resistance there and start pulling back. That's exactly what happened. So if you watched last night's stream, we had a nice start to the day for the first few hours. Very good action across a lot of different sectors. But the second we filled the gap is when the pullback started, like literally to the cent. When we filled that gap is when you started pulling back. And from that highest point, you pretty much dropped about 0.60% on the S&P, where it was a pretty rough afternoon for a lot of stocks. But again, these are technicals. It's just crazy how today the market topped out when the S&P filled the gap, this gap right over here, as you can see. When you fill that gap, that's where the market topped out today on the S&P. And then yesterday, the market bottomed out when the NASDAQ filled the gap, right? You see this little gap right over here? Yesterday, if you remember, it was very brutal. You stopped dumping, like literally right when the gap filled on the NASDAQ. So look for gap fills. There's still a lot of gap fills to both sides on the NASDAQ. On the S&P, you filled the gap on the upside. You still have that gap at 4,020, which is about almost 4% under the current price, which is kind of scary. But yeah, very technical day in my opinion. We saw earnings come out. Rocket had a very bad reaction to earnings. Fastly, Etsy, a few others. So we'll talk more about that in terms of the market going into tomorrow and why this stream is titled Make or Break Areas for the Stock Market. Really, there's two major areas. The first area that is a real big make or break area on the NASDAQ is literally right around where you close. As you can see, this like 13.6K level on the NASDAQ. It was that major resistance we had from February to March, where you topped out like about 6 times that you tested it. You topped out on the daily. That was a major resistance. When you finally broke it is when you had this very nice run. And now you're kind of back testing it. So this is a huge make or break area where if you can hold this area, this general area, give or take about 100 points on the NASDAQ, because obviously it's not going to be perfect, but you can hold it. I think you can rally back up and fill this gap that you from the gap down yesterday. if you can't hold this area, then I think you're going to go down to the next gap fill at 13. So it's kind of like this. It's either going to be this to fill the gap, or it's going to be this to fill the gap. Obviously, one of them is going to occur. And I think it's going to be pretty easy to tell which one occurs based on what happens tomorrow and why that's going to be so important. So right at the open, you want to see what is happening. Are you going under the support, or are you bouncing off of the support? And you're going to get that message right away, unless we just completely don't move for the first hour of the day, which typically that doesn't happen, at least nowadays in the market. But yeah, that's a very big make or break area for the NASDAQ. If you trade stocks, pay attention to that. In terms of the S&P, you're kind of chopping around over here. 4174 is kind of how I'm looking at the support level, and you did close under that today. It was your candle open on April 21st. It was your candle open on April 16th. It was your support from the 23rd until yesterday. So 4174 is a very important level, even if we look at the SPY instead of the SPX. Let me just go over to the SPY. I think I might have just taken it off my watch list. Pretty much the same thing here, where 416.31 is that level on the SPY, and you did close under that, but obviously you could easily get back above it if you have a good open. So pay attention to these levels tomorrow. 416 on the SPY, you want to be above it, and then 13.6K on the NASDAQ, you want to be above it. If you're not, take caution. All right. Futures are up a little bit, but they're relatively flat. NASDAQ futures are up 0.20%. S&P futures are up 0.11%. And that's really the recap of the indices. Just to talk about the VIX real quick, it's staying under the 19.6 level for now, which is good. You want to stay under 19.6 on the VIX. Don't have to worry about it for now. Take a look at the US 10-year. Let me go on the daily. Not too much movement today, kind of just back testing the resistance as a support. And then if we look at the dollar, it's also pretty quiet move today, even though you do have some hidden bullish divergence. So yeah, the Russell is still clearly within its upsloping channel. Not too much of a change there, and that really recaps the stock market. So those are the levels I'm looking at. And now we can talk about some like individual stocks. Let's start off with Fisker actually. But let me just take a look at the chat. Happy Cinco de Mayo. What's up, Neutron Flux Labs? Do you have a Fox brick ceiling? I actually don't even know. I'm not very fluent with material, so it's like it's not real brick, but it's not wallpaper either. It's like textured. It's like textured brick. So maybe that is what you're talking about. It's interesting. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. So yeah, I'm a fan of the actual technology, but we'll see what happens next year. I don't know what you're talking about, Iran or Iran, however you pronounce it. Not which technology are you talking about? It's pronounced faux. See, this is what I'm saying. I have no understanding of these terms and the pronunciations. So yeah, I'm that's just not my world. I'm gonna be a 19-year-old tomorrow. I'm an 18-year-old. So yeah, we'll talk about Fisker and SOS, and let's see what's up with them. Fisker, another day, another drop. Pretty rough. Appreciate that, Harry. It sucks. You fell under 1168. That was kind of like the yikes of today. That was your important level to hold that we've been talking about. We go on the weekly. 1168 was your support on July 27th to August 3rd, and it was also where you opened up on this huge monster green candle. You broke under that level today. So there's technically, if you believe in the theory, and Access the Trader talks about this on his YouTube channel, but you believe in the theory that stocks trade from demand to supply and supply to demand, vice versa, the next level of demand on Fisker theoretically would be about 1095. That's your gap fill from November 9th. That was, again, one of the best days in Fisker's history. This was a day that this was a huge day for me. I had a lot of call options on November 9th that were down quite a bit. And then also it was like the real first big move after that bullish butterfly. And obviously I had a few tweets that day that kind of blew up, which is kind of where all this started. So kind of like Back to the Future type things going on Fisker, where we're now back at those levels that we once were This was right around when the merger changed from SPAC to Fisker as well. So yeah, that's the gap fill. If you don't hold the gap fill, then $10 is pretty much next, because that's, you know, at support from the, like most SPACs have support at $10. So that's Fisker. RSI is still oversold. Good news on Fisker, and it might not be good news for tomorrow or the day after, but eventually there's a very high likelihood that you are going to get classic bullish divergence when Fisker does something like this. And then you go back to green, just because you're already oversold on the RSI and you're only on your first level of negative momentum on the MACD, so there's a very high probability that you are going to show classic bullish divergence on the daily. It's just more likely a matter of when, and that could, you know, the island can literally do this, and then maybe you don't, but, you know, maybe it has a little bit of an island, maybe it has a large island. It's just, I don't even want to really talk about it until it happens, but it's probably going to happen within at least the next couple of weeks. So just keep an eye on the MACD, look for that to start waning back to green. RSI, slightly oversold on the daily, definitely oversold on the 4 hour. Very interesting stuff. That's Fisker. We'll talk about SOS or SOS now. It's got the sauce. Very big move, pulled back. Let me just take a look at the chat again. If we're talking about the soup, it's spot. I have had that. That's like PHA, right? Let me make sure. PHA. That's how you pronounce it. Let's see. I mean, that's how you spell it, not pronounce it. No, it's PHO. I'm so stupid. Again, I need to learn more aside from stocks. Let's see. Take a look at Palantir. Yeah, we'll look at tickers in a little bit. I still need to go over some more stuff, but then we'll do chat requests later on. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you want to tip the stream and support what I'm doing, you can hit the pinned chat to send me a link to send me a tip through PayPal or credit card. Or as of yesterday, I now have the super chat feature if you want to try that out. It's pretty much like right under where you would type in a chat. There'll be like a little bit of a dollar sign. But appreciate all the support. Let's talk about SOS. It was up 14% at one point. It closed the day only up 5%, so about a 9% pullback. I think it really started like for real pulling back when the S&P and the NASDAQ were pulling back. S&P and NASDAQ futures actually just bounced a little bit. Quite ironic timing. I'm gonna skip that song. So in terms of SOS, very, very interesting. This trade did get stop hunted, but both of the 4 hour candle closed above the stop level. As you can see, this is why I always talk about waiting for the candle closes. So both of your 4 hour candle closes were good, and today had a very big move. If you look at the candle from yesterday, you actually put in a bullish hammer candle yesterday, and then you got your follow through price action today. They had their earnings, not really, they had like pretty much their earnings results, and they had their transcript and everything today. Some very, very impressive numbers on the side of SOS. So give me a second here. Let me just put out a tweet. But I'm going to read you all the numbers. We're going to talk about SOS for a little bit and my thoughts on it currently. All right. So let me pull up the screenshot. All right, total revenue was 50 million, a 333% year over year. Gross profit increased 500% roughly to 13 million. Gross margin increased 7.5% to 26% roughly. Operating income had an increase of 475%. Net profit was 4.4 million compared to a net income of 1.5 million in 2020. Very, very big numbers for SOS. Wow, those are some good numbers in my opinion. They beat on a lot of different standards, and you got a very nice move in the stock price today. So in terms of the technicals, I talked about it yesterday. 420 is the level that you want to hold. Obviously, you're still not too far above that, so you're kind of walking a fine line, or, you know, whatever analogy you want to use. It was up like 1 or 2% after hours. You want to hold above 420 on your candle closes. You might chop a little bit below it, then get back above it, but $4.20 is that area from this candle low. And then if we go back in time from, I think it's on the daily, from this candle high. All right. So very important level. Hidden bullish divergence is continuing to play out. You got an increasing level of positive momentum on the MACD today, which is good. And it still looks good in my opinion. All right. You could probably call this a double bottom. If you break over 473, that'll be a confirmed double bottom, because then you'd be breaking the neckline. First bottom, second bottom, and a slightly higher low on the second bottom, which is actually more bullish. So good stuff. All right, nice structure, nice move today. I do think that it still looks good. Will it pull back if the market pulls back? Probably. But we'll see what happens with it, and that really is SOS. Just keep an eye on it. You were pretty much offered a second chance. Like if you were, you know, looking at, if you got stopped out at the bottom during the stop hunt, and then you looked at it and it was up 14% today, and you're like, are you joking me? It came back down to the entry. It came back down to test its support. So, and I even talked about that in the Discord today, where I said it's a position trade, right? So this is more than likely going to give you multiple opportunities to get in on dips if you want to be in it. So it's going to take time. If it does play out, it might get stop hunted again, depending on what the market does. But very interesting things are going on here. And you saw a 14% move after these signs were already appearing on the chart. So very interesting. Let's move on from that. So we talked about Fisker, we talked about SOS. Talk about Clover for a little bit. Relatively flat day. It was up a little bit, down a little bit. It's still kind of okay. I mean, that's not the most optimistic way to put it, but you're still just chopping around here. Maybe you do double bottom at the PCZ of this bullish bat. Maybe you come back down to test 854. That's why the stop loss is below it. You just want to get back above $9. Your MACD on the 1 hour went back to green, which is nice. Kind of just sideways for now. So Clover, you're still continuing to try and back test your previous resistance as a support. Which in terms of Wyckoff accumulation, this is known as the backup phase, where all the people who got left out of this first move up are getting a second opportunity. It's kind of like a car left without you and the car starts reversing and says, hey, get in. And you only have a small amount of period to get in the car, otherwise it's just going to go forward again. That's kind of a really stupid analogy, but that's just what the price action is attempting to do. But if you break this level, then it's like, all right, you lose a few percent, maybe 5-6%, whatever your stop loss is. That's kind of the gamble you take. And that's what you're hoping for. So very interesting area. I wish there was divergence on the upper time frames in the 4 hour daily. There's really not. So we'll see how that continues to develop. The highlight of last night was iSun. I lost my mind looking at this chart, and I'll probably explain it again in a second. But it pulled back today when the market pulled back. Actually was down 6%, but after hours it went up like 4%. So still, again, this is more of a very long-term trade where you want to be cost averaging, because it's going to go above the entry, below the entry, above. Cost averaging is, you know, the most optimal way to do it, but you did close above the 200-day moving average, so you're still fine. Even after the stream last night, I noticed that there was a somewhat bullish butterfly. I mean, I don't even know if I want to really call it that. I was just kind of really happy looking at the chart, but you had a close to a 786 retrace from X to B, and then you did bounce off the 1618 from B to D 2 different times. So even if it's not an official harmonic, even though it's pretty close to a butterfly, it's like it's respecting the Fibonacci levels, not once, but twice for now. So that's just another interesting thing, but obviously you're looking at the more major pseudo bullish bat, and hopefully, I mean, any good bounce tomorrow, and it did go up after hours a few percent, we'll get this MACD waning again. And as long as it holds this 200-day moving average, which it did, it's fine. So good stuff there. SPG, that trade from last week, chopping around a little bit, still trying to flip that previous resistance into a support. You definitely want to bounce tomorrow. You do not want to fall back into the pattern. All right. The NLI, crap. I mean, broke under the 200-day moving average. So if you want to break even on this, that's your choice. If you don't, and you want to hang in until potential stop areas, that's your choice. At one point, this trade was up like 20%. So hopefully you know, took some profits, but just very, very harsh for a lot of small caps. And just look how close it was to the target. It was literally 3% away from the target, and the trade was up 20%. What do you want me to do? I can't really, you know, control that. It sucks. I'm gutted, but at the end of the day, that's what trading is. It's not always going to completely work out in your favor, even though the original thesis was certainly correct. Just a little bit shy of the mark with some bad market timing. EGRE also, it keeps breaking out, getting over the resistance, and falling back under whenever the market dips. Just frustrating, and that kind of just covers everything I wanted to talk about from today. So if you want me to look at something for you in the chat, make sure to drop a ticker. I pretty much covered everything I wanted to, so I'll look at some tickers for everybody. And yeah, if you have any trading questions, let me know, whatever it is. However I can help out, I'm here to try my best. So not financial advice. Don't request something that was up 5,000% today. Don't request something that IPO'd yesterday, and we'll look at some charts for you know, 25-30 minutes. And yeah.
Other type motherfuckers that listen to slow jams and shit like that, because they're living the real hardcore life. So you want to sometimes sit back, smoke some weed, and just, you know what I'm saying, just relax and just think, and just try to alleviate some of that stress. You know what I'm saying?
SPY puts anytime soon. If you break support levels, I do think that could make sense. You're still in a very, very nice uptrend in the S&P 500, so it's not like you're in a bear trend, but you are breaking your support from the past like week and a half. So yeah, I think it could make sense. Believe it or not, I was attempting to get SPY puts. Again, I was going to get SPY puts right at the gap fill, which was literally the highest point today, and those would have literally printed. I just didn't get filled, so I didn't want to chase them, which sucks. But I was going to get SPY puts literally at the session highs. It just didn't work out in my favor. But I think it can make sense. You have to be smart about how you scale in, just because you still might continue to chop around here. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that it's like for sure going to work out, but I think SPY puts for the next few weeks kind of make more sense than SPY calls based on technicals. But who knows if some great news comes out for the markets or whatever it is, because obviously that'll directly affect this. So, you know, got to be tactical on how exactly you do it. It's not just as simple as market buying puts without thinking about it. Or maybe it is. We'll find out. First one, DNMR. No divergence on the daily or the 4-hour in terms of our harmonic. Let's see.
This is that once in a lifetime.
Pretty close to a bullish Gartley. Yeah, I mean, you didn't have a 618, you had a 675 from X to B, but you're pretty much around the 786 as well. Had a perfect 618 on the C point, so that's pretty cool how you made that golden retrace and then you dumped again. That's Fibonacci for you. But like, I mean, other than this XABCD, I'm just not too sure, because you don't really have any divergence. Maybe you want to call this a falling wedge, something like this, but like it broke out of it and it's not really doing anything. So again, if a pattern is not showing you the price action that the pattern should be showing you, then the pattern doesn't matter. You're using patterns for price action. If you're not getting price action after breaking out of a pattern, then probably look for something else. I mean, that's just how technicals are. The patterns are not always just going to do the same exact thing. They're only probabilities, right? If you look at a lot of Thomas Bulkowski's work, he'll literally give you the statistics based on all the research he did of the percentage chance of a pattern playing out, how much it'll play out on average, like how much the price will go up and stuff like that. So price action is always more important than the actual thesis, because the price action will either prove your thesis correct or incorrect. Isn't that divergence, lower price and higher low max? It's potential divergence, but you you don't really want to be calling it divergence until your MACD starts waning back to green again, right? Because what if it does this? What if it comes over here and then it goes back down, and then you do not have that lower level of negative momentum? So that's really what you're looking for. Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's going to alert it on the... I really hope it does alert it. It did, let's go! Cheddar Freeze, first ever super chat. Let me fix my audio. So cool. Let's see. So, gotta do this. Alright, let's go. Cheddar Freeze is the first ever. I mean, that just makes so much sense. Thank you, Cheddar Freeze. I wouldn't rather it be anybody else because of all the help you've given me in the Discord and in the chat on the stream. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for the $5. Happy Cinco de Mayo, FTM, super chat. Where you at? A little bit of a rhyme there. I'll see myself out. Thank you, Cheddar Freeze, for not only the 5 and everything you do for everybody in the FTM, but for the first ever super chat on the channel, because that got enabled like yesterday. YouTube approved me for it, so vibes in the chat, appreciate it. Yeah, Encyclopedia of Chart Patterns, great book by Volkowski. Cheddar Freeze does have the bars. Like Neutron Flux Lab said, fundamentals will override TA. TA works best like when there are no catalysts or anything else and it's just price action, right? You're trying to visualize, but TA also works great when there is good fundamentals, or fundamentals that line up with your thesis. So yeah, in terms of what you were saying, just to go back to it before I continue going through the other takers people requested, divergence, you want to wait till your MACD starts waning to call it, like to say that it is diverging. For now, it's only potential divergence eventually, but it's not currently classic bullish divergence because your MACD is not waning. And technically, even more technically, your divergence doesn't even confirm till you go back from red to green. So you're not even close to going back to green unless you have like a 20% or like a 10% day tomorrow, and then it just automatically goes back to green. But hopefully that explains your answer. Because I see a lot of people in the Discord calling things like this divergence. Like imagine you have like a MACD island like this, and then a lot of people will call this hidden bullish divergence. Just because you've made a higher low on price with a lower level of negative momentum on your MACD does not consider it hidden bullish divergence just yet. You need there to be a waning level of negative momentum, because that is your divergence. Your divergence is when the MACD is doing the opposite thing as the price. But if you're looking at it like this, both the price and the MACD are just going down. So where is your divergence? That means divergence is when two opposite things occur. The same thing is occurring here, which is actually known as convergence. This is technically known as bearish convergence, where both the price and the MACD are currently going down. But your bearish convergence flips into bullish divergence when you start waning on negative momentum. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So for right now, it's just technically considered like bearish convergence slash potential bullish divergence eventually if the MACD goes back to green or starts waning. Hopefully that gives you an answer. And then somebody else, Sky1187, says, I wish you made videos on charting and understanding works. Well, believe it or not, I actually do. I have a full course on my channel. There's about 12 videos in it, probably about like 2 hours long or 2 hours worth of education on charting. So just go over to my channel, go to playlists, and it'll be there waiting for you. So yeah, let me just scroll and make sure I didn't miss anything. I have a few more tickers I need to put in. So let's get back to the analysis. I know we're still on the first ticker. I'm sorry for everybody who typed in, but I just want to communicate with the chat and all of you. So let me just type in the rest that I missed out, and we're going to run through these all real quickly. All right, let's see. Check the playlist and you'll be 100 times better off. Trust me, appreciate that. Always referencing my videos, appreciate that as well. You know, that's the best way to support what I'm doing, just spreading the word, you know. But yeah, that's DNMR. We'll move on to ZOM now. It's just chopping around at this level we've been talking about like every night, 88 cents. I don't know if you're above it or below it. It's way too choppy to tell for now. So for now, I just don't see an edge. I can see it going either way. Can't really give you an answer tonight. All right, sorry. I don't like making up things when I don't see an edge. Pen is, oh my gosh. Penn. All right, earnings are going to be tomorrow, so that's gonna switch the direction to either way. But look at this upsloping channel, this demand line. Look how it hammered over it yesterday. You broke the channel, but you closed the candle on a bullish pin bar. That's really cool. If you like technical analysis, the bulls really stepped up to keep it in the channel. That's a pretty nice signal. I mean, literally, you have, it's not divergence, but your MACD went from red to green and put in a bullish pin bar at the bottom of a channel. Very nice. Technicals look great, but earnings are tomorrow, and that will override, you know, the technicals depending on which way they go. But for the premium members, if you're in the stream tonight, there was like a very nice day trade we did on Monday with the pen. We did 40% profits on the calls, playing this little bounce right over here. Or no, that's on the daily. Which bounce was it? What day was Monday? Monday was the 3rd, I guess. So we were playing this bounce right over here, I guess. But yeah, that's Penn. Palantir, literally at the bottom of the range. This is the make or break area. That's it. I mean, even if we just take out everything and I just put a simple line here, this is it. You reverse here, or there's no more major support till like 2020. And that's not even like a major support. You just bottomed there on one candle wick. So you're at this support area. It was your candle low pretty much from December 2nd, from March 25th, kind of March 30th, kind of April 20th. This is your demand area. If you do not see demand here, take caution. But just like Penn, you have earnings coming up, and that'll override the technicals. EBON, F in the chat for EBON. Maybe. I mean, you broke to a new all-time low. You need to get back over 381 to be bullish, because otherwise you don't have any support. 381 was your support. You broke it. You broke your support. So until you reclaim that on the daily, which you have not, you closed yesterday and today under 381, there's really not much to talk about, because who knows how low it can go, because there's no support to look at. However, it only takes probably what, like a 1-2%. It takes a 2% move to get back above support, but you want to close there. So you need to have over a 2% green day on EBON tomorrow, and then we're talking again. So that's EBON. Let's see. Tea cocktail, never tried. Just tea. Love his excitement. I love charts. So yeah. Uber, don't really know. I mean, I don't see much of a pattern. I was kind of looking at it like this, but again, this doesn't really look that great. Maybe it does. Maybe you broke out of not even a symmetrical triangle, but just a triangle. Maybe you broke out of this to the downside. Earnings were today, I think. It was down 5% after hours, so it went down to 48.75, which is about right around here. So it looks like it kind of closed after hours at this support from December. If you break under that support from December, you're probably, first you're going to test 47.22. If you don't hold that candle low, the 200-day moving average is waiting for you. But I haven't looked at the earnings, so I don't know. Maybe it was just a bad reaction to good earnings, which has been very, very common in the last couple of weeks. WIMI looks actually really similar to EBON, a little bit different context, but you're unfortunately just a little bit below support, in my opinion. I mean, really not. I mean, if you just look at it, you're in a support zone. I mean, really, this whole entire area could be your support. So I wouldn't say you're below support just yet. Maybe you still are holding support, because if we look at this original candle low, that was 547, and you closed above 547, and that was actually pretty much your low yesterday. So you want to hold above 547, I would say, or this general area, because you can see once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times you have found support here, but you have had a few fake outs, like right over here and right over here, so it's kind of iffy. It's saying that they had a bad earnings. I mean, regardless of what the earnings looked like, there was a bad reaction to them. So yeah, it's WIMI, no pattern, no divergence. Well, actually, this could turn into a pattern eventually. If it starts rounding upwards, you could be in for an inverse head and shoulders if you hold this area and start curving back up. So we'll see. BTRS, let me just delete everything here. You are bouncing off of your lows from the COVID crash. So you pretty much had a very big run and then you dumped and you pretty much bounced off the same lows from the COVID crash last year. You are, I mean, I'd say the major resistance is 1681 because it was your low over here, your low over here, kind of your highs over here, definitely your low over here, and it was the candle high on the day that it gapped down, February 22nd. So you are pretty far away from major resistance. If you are a range-bound trader, you definitely have a nice reward to risk here. I mean, if you're just going to be playing the bottom of the range to the top and throwing your stop loss under the previous lows from the COVID crash, you have about a 3 reward to risk, which is what you want. But, I mean, where's the probability? I'm not sure, because you don't really have a pattern or divergence on the daily or on the 4 hour, so I'm not too sure. Besides the bottom of, or not the bottom of, it's not really a range, but support and resistance. X1, not much of an edge on the 4 hour or the daily. You just went back to red on the MACD. Oh my gosh. But you have yet another bullish Gartley with a potential double bottom at the PCC. Wow. Looks pretty much like Solo. And the other chart we looked at, what was that first one we looked at? Was it I think it was DNMR. We already looked at that. Somebody else just typed DNMR in the chat. Yeah, it looks like Solo and DNMR. Same exact thing pretty much. Look how similar all three of these charts look. This is Solo, the Gartley. This is DNMR, the Gartley. This is X1, the Gartley. Unfortunately, X1 and DNMR don't have any divergence or support here. So you're only at the PCZ of a pattern without any other variables. Solo does have potential classic bullish not anymore. It was like waning earlier today, but I guess it pulled back. So it still is a potential, like we talked about earlier in the stream, if you do this. But for now, you need it to start waning again. You need more confirmation, because what happens if this happens and it breaches under these breaches under the lows from these islands, right? You never know. So we'll see what happens there, but very interesting. Looks very similar to Solo, where you're kind of trying to double bottom at the PCC of the Gartley on X1. So hold this area and you could see a very nice move to the upside. Don't hold this area and you're probably going to test the 200-day moving average at $19.19 if you fall under 20.50, right? And that's X1. Let me reload the watch list again with all the tickers that I missed. Doesn't look like it was too many. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow night. It depends on what time I get home. It's my birthday. So this may or may not be the final stream of the week. I'm not too sure. I'll let you know in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, join it. The link's in the description. Let's look at IDEX. It was up 5% today. It bounced at the bottom of the range. Nice. So 247 was the support. That's where it bottomed out at. And then it had a nice 5% day today. This could turn into hidden bearish divergence on the daily. So keep that in mind. If your MACD goes back down to red, you made a lower high on price with a higher high on your MACD. You're not at the bottom of the range anymore, so I don't really know if there's much of an edge at this point on the daily time frame. And if we look at the 4 hour, pretty much the same exact story as the daily. Cheddar Freeze, you're the second person today. No, you're the third person today that has said that to me. Ah, you're a Taurus, that makes sense. I don't get it. How does that make sense? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm saying like I'm just so confused when people say that. Like, what does that mean? I am a bull, yeah. If that's what you're referring to, but I don't know, a lot of people are so good with horoscopes that that they can kind of tell what some stranger is. Like, I've seen so many YouTube videos where people just walk up to other people saying, "Hey, you're a Gemini," and they're like, "How did you know that?" It's like, how do you read that energy? I know what a Taurus is. Like, I know it's a bull. I'm just saying, like, how do you know? How do people assume that I'm a Taurus based on my personality? I don't get that. That kind of blows my mind, because I'm not one that's super, I'm not going to say believing of horoscopes. I'm just not one that's super aware of how that all works and, you know, the belief behind that. It's pretty cool. But I guess, you know, if you look at websites and books, they'll tell you, like, you know, what personality traits to look for. So, interesting. I'm too bullish, yeah. GILT. I don't know on this one. I don't like how you're under 10 bucks. That was where you kind of tried to double bottom off of, but you failed miserably. It's where you had support at. Over here, even over here. You need to get back above 10 bucks, or I think it's bearish. Based on the simple fact that you broke a support, but you did find a new support at $9.19. So maybe you're just trading in between a support and resistance, just chopping around. NGA. In the middle of a range. Support, resistance, support, middle. So 50-50 chance of going to 2151 next, or falling back down to 1258. That's really all I see. I don't see any divergence or pattern. So I'm gonna leave it at that. HD, Home Depot, been going crazy. I mean, wow, what a fake out this was. It was such a strong support level, it broke it, and then it just mooned. It was like, what? And then it bull flagged very recently. And it just kept going. So Fibs look good. Your 2618 Fibonacci extension is 346. Your support is 328 because that was your previous swing high in the middle of April. Let's see how lows is doing. Because it had a bull flag, just kind of chopping around here. This is not an official trade. This is just kind of how it's lining up reward to risk. But yeah. Had a very nice bull flag with hidden bullish divergence, kind of chopping around here. I'm very interested to see if this bull flag plays out just like the bull flag on Home Depot played out. Look at this. Very similar company, obviously. Very similar trend. Both of them have been going absolutely nuts. Look, Home Depot had the bull flag and it did play out, and then Lowe's, it's just broke out the bull flag, but we'll see what happens. Mecca with the $10 donation. Happy birthday, champ. Appreciate your effort every single night. Mecca, thank you for the $10 and for the kind words and the birthday wish. Really, really appreciate the 10 bucks. Thank you for all the support. And that's Lowe's, that's Home Depot. We're going to go to NNDM next. Let me just take a look at the chat. I know I got to add in a few more tickers. Gold Miner has a bull tattoo. That's pretty awesome. Behavior, even looks, can give you a reading on somebody's horoscope. Energy, behavior. All right, let me add. I'm sorry if I missed any tickers, but I think Gain is where I left off. AHT, Peloton. Very rough day for Peloton, down 15%. Some bad news came out. I think recalls, and it had a very, very bearish looking chart as well. Massive head and shoulders. As far as your HD chart goes, bearish deep crab on the 1 hour. Okay, it's helping him out. See how that, but Home Depot's in an insanely bullish trend though. What else? We got some vibes coming in the chat. Let's get it. and APPH. Alright, so did I add the right GAN? Is this what you want me to be looking at for whoever typed in GAN? AF, AM, F, vol, euro, whatever that is? Just let me know in the chat before I look at it. So nano dimension is in a support, let me just clear this up. It's in a support area just above the 200-day moving average. If you ignore all these little mini islands, you have potential classic bullish divergence on the 4-hour, but of course that needs to develop a lot more. Even on the RSI, you're making a higher low. So you need more work, but you eventually it's gonna be one of the two. Either you're gonna do this, you're gonna double bottom here, your divergence is gonna confirm on the MACD and RSI, and you're probably gonna run back up to at least $9 eventually. Or you're going to fail miserably, break the support, break the 200-day moving average, and probably go head back down to test 590. That's really how I'm looking at it. Look at daily. I don't know about a harmonic here. It's definitely not at a PCZ, even if you want to call it like being close to a bat. Like, no, not a bat for now. I would not call it that. So APPH. Oh, he's talking about GAN. Oh, okay. Never mind. Let's see what else we got here. Twitter. How does Ethereum Classic compare to Ethereum? I don't know. Fundamentally, I don't know the answer to that question. Technicals wise, Ethereum Classic is definitely more overbought than Ethereum, just because of how much it's gone up in the last few days. I believe Ethereum still has a much larger market cap, and that's really all I can give you. They're both in insanely bullish trends, making higher highs and higher lows. But like, there's not much technicals I can do at this point. So, yeah. APPH. I don't really know. I mean, there's not really much here for me to work with. It passed the PC. I mean, it passed the 886, but it did kind of bounce off the 2618 from B to D, so somewhat a bullish bat. And you even had classic bullish divergence there, so that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I guess if you want to stretch it, call it a bullish bat right over here. Maybe it's putting in a confirmation low where it makes a slightly higher low, or even potentially double bottoms. So this could be an area where the trend changes, but you need to hold above 1171. As long as you do that, you're fine. But the thing is, you have 20% downside just to retest your support, and potential hidden bearish divergence now if the MACD goes back to red. So I don't know. There's like, this could play out in a few different ways. Maybe you just want to sit back for a little bit until you get more confirmation. But it is trying to hold these lows from over here. So I could see a lot of different scenarios playing out here. AHT. I like how it broke above the 200-day moving average and it back tested it. That's good. Probably wanted to get back above $3. Kind of like a downsloping channel, and you just kind of rejected the supply line, so you want to break over that. You just need to break out of this area right over here, like this. You need to get over this, and then you could retest 419, which is like the top of this range in general. You did have classic bullish divergence at the bottom over here on the MACD, and yeah, hold the 200-day moving average, break over this. It's gonna need some work. It's not gonna be easy. Maybe it is because earnings just happened, maybe not, but we'll see what happens. Peloton, yikes. I mean, extremely bearish chart. You had head and shoulders, and on your right shoulder it put in a bear flag. Like, what? Let me just make this white so it's not mixed in. But you had a massive head and shoulders pattern, which is one of the most textbook bearish patterns, and then on the right shoulder, you put in another bearish pattern, which is a bear flag. You broke out of the bear flag. You broke both of the potential necklines of the head and shoulders. And then literally on the day that you break out of this pattern to the downside, this bearish pattern, they put out a recall on one of their products for, I believe, a child died and there was like 80 other injuries or something. So very, very tough stuff going on. 78.78 is kind of your closest support from these candle lows, but it was kind of going parabolic before the massive head and shoulders. So when you go parabolic, it's really hard to create major supports because you need to go sideways for some time to create a major support, and it just simply did not. So I'm not too sure. And then it's saying that earnings are tomorrow as well, so who knows how that goes. Like, I don't know, maybe there's so many different scenarios. Again, I'm sorry to say this on like the last 3 tickers, but there's just so many different scenarios that can play out on a lot of these things. Maybe it bounces here, retests the previous support, flips into resistance, and then dumps. Maybe it has bad earnings and just continues dumping. Maybe it has a blowout earnings and like anything can happen, you know? So when something is like, when something has so many potential different variables and you can't really manage your risk in a clear way, I just move on because there's thousands of other things for me to trade. So you could probably flip a coin. Maybe you're going to be correct on however the coin lands, but I like getting more than a coin flips chance on my trades, right? But that's Peloton. Twitter. Need to get back above 56, otherwise it's bearish and it's probably going to test the 200-day moving average. They had bad expectations on user growth or something during their earnings. And 56, that's the major level from right over here and back from 2014 up over here. So under 56 is bearish, but you still have the 200-day moving average under you to maybe save the day, but we'll see. I know a lot of institutional buying has occurred on this dip though, and a lot of call buying too. There was a lot of huge blocks going into Twitter calls on Monday and Tuesday. Beyond, kind of testing this 120 support, as you can see from right over here. And on this candle, break under 120 and your next support's 113. Hold above 120 and your next resistance is 129. There's no pattern, there's no divergence. Well, maybe you want to call it like a falling wedge that's being created. You look at it like this. So maybe it is a falling wedge. And you're at the demand line, which is also horizontal support, but you need to bounce here. If you don't, then probably 113 or 114 just to test it. Yeah, Ethereum Classic's probably trending on Twitter with how crazy it's gone. Ocugen, I'm probably not going to be able to give you an answer on that one either. You know, the things that just go straight up, that's not really my forte in trading. I like going with the channels and the patterns and divergence, not the crazy ups and downs. Very rarely will I trade those. Sometimes I'll trade them on quick day trades on low time frames, but yeah. Oh, you want an APPA? All right, we'll look at that. Is it this? Wait. So you do not want APHA. I'm so confused. All right, Sean, I'm very confused with if you want APHA or APPA, if it's a crypto, if it's a stock. Tell me the ticker and the company name or the crypto name if it's a crypto. I'm just a little bit confused there. Viacom. My should move on Peloton is like 18. Oh gosh, it's probably not going to go to 18 bucks. It's a pretty big company. They have a lot of, they did very good business last year. So I highly doubt that the measured move will play out. Actually, I need to do it the opposite way. I don't even know if that matters, but. Well, I need to put that at the neckline. Yeah, I mean, if you go for this neckline, it's literally 12 bucks. If you go for the upper neckline, probably 18, like you said. Yeah, 18 bucks, which literally lines up with your all-time low. Oh my gosh, this is, as Mitch Ray would say, TA Tetris. Your measured move of this massive inverse head and shoulders would take you right back to the lowest price that Peloton has ever been from the COVID crash last year. Crazy. Probably not going to happen. I'd be very surprised if it happened. Although there's not much support all throughout here. If you break under 78 bucks, you still have some supports. Like you have 71 from this high and this low. Probably could use Fibonacci supports as well. Probably you could find a harmonic, divergence. So many different things can happen. Don't think it's going to go under $50, but we'll see. Ocugen, not my type of trading. No pattern, no divergence. I'll go find something with a pattern and divergence. You know. Viacom, this was initially going to be a premium trade. I put it out because I like the falling wedge, the hidden bullish divergence, and the retest of the 200-day moving average. But it broke the 200-day moving average, and we were playing the 200-day moving average. So the trade was pretty much stopped out as a break-even trade because it broke the 200-day moving average. It was like a 1% L. So whatever. And as you can see, it's dropped another 2 or 3% after that. So your resistance is the 200-day moving average, 41.32 from this low over here and from this low over here. You can see that you need to get back above 41.32, otherwise 37 is your support from these highs and this low. All right, that's Viacom. Yeah, there was a bullish battle on Beyond. I don't know if there's a new PCZ or a new harmonic. Definitely could be. There was an XABCD. A lot of people talking about it. I used to have Beyond in my Roth IRA. I like the company, but not gonna lie, I sold. My back is killing me. I sold Beyond quite a while ago. I think I sold Beyond back in November or December to buy more Fisker. I don't know, I just kind of spaced out there. I'm a little bit tired. I see a 12-month harmonic on B-Day and your price target 17. We'll take a look at it. Wait. You're so funny. I really just... Alright, that's it for the stream. Everybody have a good night. I'm out. You got me. Good one. I really like hardcore fell for that. Like literally I typed it in. I was like, alright, we'll see. Let's see what he's up to. Because I know you've been looking at a lot of those harmonics lately. Just the way you typed it. Great. Good job. Oh, we went over SOS earlier in the stream. You just want to hold above 420 on SOS. Let's see what else I missed. Oh, what was it, like Alfira or Afra, whatever that company was, yeah, with Tilray. So you want me to look at Tilray now? I'm still so confused. No, I wasn't closing out the stream. I was just joking, guys. I mean, I'm gonna be closing out in a few minutes, but we'll do a few more tickers. Such as BW and what was that, MicroStrategy? Yeah. BW. This is like your support, your previous resistance. So between like 750 to 820, you kind of held over here. But like that's, you know, I don't really see much of a pattern. You did have some hidden bullish divergence, which has already been playing out. Earnings already occurred. Not too sure about I just don't know on this one. Don't really see an edge for either side. It's in a nice trend though. As long as you're making higher highs and higher lows, you're good. Technically, you just did start putting in a lower high from this high to this one, but you could easily just pull a flag and then rally back up. So it's like not too sure. Let's go. Neutron, sorry if that was loud. I have my volume up really high. Neutron Flux Labs with a $17 donation. Happy B-Day, champ. Thank you, Neutron Flux Labs, for all the support, all the testimonials, the tips, everything. Really appreciate everything you do. And it's been really, really nice getting to talk with you in the one-on-one calls, message with you. And I think, like I literally told you, you have so much potential in trading. Like I knew it ever since that first one-on-one call. Like I could definitely tell. and this is weird, like telling this to somebody who's older than me, but like, yeah, like I saw a lot of potential with your charting abilities right from the get-go. So keep up the good work. Hope you keep crushing it. Appreciate the 17. What else we got here? Enjoy the birthday. Thank you. Less than 2 hours till I turn 19. Let's see. SD. Oh, well, that's pretty ironic. So yeah, SDC. I know you typed it in the chat. We'll take a look at it. Pretty much exactly a year ago, I bought SDC because a year ago I turned 18 and SDC was the first stock I ever bought. So that's kind of like full circle. Like 1 year later, after my first ever stock purchase, pretty much a beginner in trading, somebody on my stream asks me about SDC. Like, I would have never imagined a year ago that I would be streaming about trading and talking about SDC. I don't even know what I'm saying, but I'll look at it. Hopefully that kind of made sense. Just ironic. I'm really tired if you can't tell. I woke up, I slept for 6 hours last night. I woke up at 9 o'clock, traded for a few hours, took a math final, went to the grocery store, got a haircut, did a few other things. Pretty hectic day. 19. Yeah, I mean, oh, were you saying 17 because you thought I was turning 17? No, I'm turning 19. If I was 17, I would not be old enough to trade. Well, I think you could still trade on like a custodian account or whatever, but yeah. 17 was a great age. What was I? I think I was a junior in high school when I was 17. Sophomore year and junior year were great. Senior was all right, but COVID kind of cut in half my senior year. So SDC, I think that might be the last one for the night. Full circle, yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. Definitely full circle with SDC. Run around the house, yeah, you're good. So SDC, at this point, you broke that really important demand line right over here. Ever since then, it's not been good. You actually filled a gap, or yeah, you're pretty much currently filling a gap back from September 1st of last year. So maybe that acts as support. Volkowski says that there's only like a 20-something% chance of gaps acting as support and resistances. And trust me, I'm a huge fan of Volkowski and all of his work. Literally half of the things I talk about on the stream are because of his research and, you know, all the patterns he created and validified, but if that's even a word. But one thing, probably the only thing I've ever disagreed with Volkowski on is gap fills, where he says that very rarely will they act as support and resistances. But I chart for probably 6 to 7 hours a day for the last year and a half. Even before I started trading, I was charting, and I've noticed that gap fills very, very commonly act as support resistance, even just for a little bit. Like, again, we were talking about it, where literally the market bottomed out yesterday. If you remember, yesterday was a horrible day. The market gapped down. The Nasdaq was down like 3%. The market finally stopped dumping and it bounced when it filled the gap. So that was your support. And then today, the market topped out right when you filled the gap. So that was your resistance, right? See, you filled this gap right over here, and that's where the market topped out. So that was, I don't know. I just feel like gap fills very, very frequently act as support resistance. 25% doesn't sound like a good number to me, but he probably did his own research. Maybe it's just different timing. He probably did that research, you know, quite a while ago, and maybe then stocks work differently, right? But Scrooge, thank you. I think you are like the most frequent tipper in the last like month and a half or whatever. So thank you for yet another tip, and for the $19 and the birthday wish. Appreciate very much, Scrooge. Yeah, keep crushing it. Hope all's well. Vibes in the chat for all the tips tonight. Thank you for all the support, everybody. Y'all are the best. And again, like a 50-50 chance that I stream tomorrow night, because it depends on what time I get home. So just to finish off SDC so I can get out of here and try and sleep. Maybe you bounce at this gap fill. If you don't bounce at the gap fill, then you have a support at 710. I ended like $7 from this little double bottom and this candle low. So it's like either 830 or probably $7. No pattern, no divergence, and I think it gapped down for whatever reason. And it's saying that earnings are on the 10th, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think that'll do it. Futures pulled back. They're pretty much flat still. And thank you all so much for all the support tonight, for all the chats, for all the tips, all the likes. Let's get a few more likes if you didn't hit that like button. Do it for my birthday tomorrow, all right? I'm gonna make you feel guilty about it, but appreciate all the support. Have a great night. Good luck trading tomorrow. Maybe I'll stream tomorrow, maybe I won't. I'll let you know on the Discord if you want to join the Discord. That's the link. The link for that is in the description. If you want to join Premium Alerts, that link's in the description. And yeah, have a great night. Thank you for everything.